while I was sitting around, playing on Twitter or X right now, I managed to get myself called a racist again, TK. And it's
Just
kind
to
of funny
confirm,
because,
though, you aren't a racist. Just so everybody is,
well,
well aware.
according to
I've known you long enough to know who's a racist and who's not a racist, and you,
I
my friend, are not a
appreciate
racist.
I don't believe that I am, but I do kind of speak the truth sometimes, and sometimes for some reason people spin that into racism, which is just funny. Like
Well, you just
now,
can't mention race. That's the problem. You can't
I didn't even
say
say anything
anything
about
about
race.
a race whatsoever, unless it's like, Canadian. If you're making fun of Canadians, then everyone's just like, yeah, those Canadians, they're silly. But yeah, you can't bring up
They're
race, Darryl.
silly.
Come on, learn your lessons.
Well,
Stay out of the
that's the funny
stay out
thing,
of
and
the weeds.
I'm trying to find the tweet again, but like it really had absolutely nothing to do with race. It's actually insane, but of course I can't find the tweet because
That's
I
okay.
just
We don't
can't
need to
find
hear
the
the
tweet. But
details, but we
basically,
believe you
I said
that you're not a racist. Don't worry.
we should send all of the immigrants back home that came to Canada in the last 4 years and just kind of reset things and think things through and maybe recreate the policy and give us all a second chance, because
Yeah,
this
definitely
place
something
is
a
a
racist would
mess.
say.
Right? Definitely something a racist would say, but it wasn't directed at any
I know it's
particular
not, but it's
race, right?
something that a racist person would say. That's why they're throwing you under the bus here.
For sure. But what's
Yeah.
funny, and what's always funny, I guess it's funnier the more often I get called a racist, but
Yeah.
like, it's always a faceless, nameless person that has nothing to lose and nothing to gain other than making me look like a guy trying to defend being a
Notoriety. They
racist,
got everything
right?
to gain.
I don't know that you get notoriety by
Guys,
calling me a racist.
guy's the man.
Right?
He's out there fighting the man.
What a joke, man. This fucking Twitter. I don't know why I'm still on it.
I
But
don't know why.
anyways, TK,
I can tell you one thing. I'm not on
keeps me
TikTok
in
and I'm not
tune.
on Twitter. I have an account. I did 2 weeks time. And in those 2 weeks, I learned my lesson very quickly that I got better things to do.
Better things
But
to do.
people are out there. They're loving it. They're enjoying it. I don't like to scroll on the videos too often. I know I get caught up in it sometimes. And honestly, to date, I've never, ever actually come out of it saying, wow, that was really, time well spent.
Sure.
So
But
those are the type of things that you really got to avoid.
But imagine actually having good immigration policy and actually being able to, attract good talent and keep good talent instead of just sucking in a bunch of kids and screwing them over and screwing up the fabric of society.
So
And
I'm going to give a shout out to my friend.
hmm,
I can't remember his name, but he drove me
close
home
friend.
from the
That's good.
dealership the other day as an Uber driver.
Ah,
Now, he'd been here for a year. He was in school studying. He's about 30 years old, so he's coming out of
in school
life from
studying
India,
30.
and
Yeah.
now he's in school again, for whatever his walk of life was.
Yeah.
And he had a positive attitude. And he told me, he says,
Positive
he's not
attitude.
sure 100% what he wants to do, but he does like living life in Canada. And he was listening to a lot of spiritual stuff in the car before I got in the
That's good.
car.
That's
And
nice.
so he was getting right into some really heavy things with me. And he was just
Oh, boy.
he was a very just like spiritual, like, down to earth guy. And him and I were having a good conversation. And he said it very
Spiritual Uber
clearly.
guy.
He was a spiritual Uber driver.
Uber
And he said
drivers.
it
Those
very
guys get it
clearly.
done, man. Yeah.
He said it very clearly. And this is very obvious. You are in the environment that you create for yourself. Okay. He didn't actually say that, but I just verbatim, like tried to,
okay.
not verbatim, just sort of, make it so that it sounds good.
Paraphrase.
Paraphrase. Thank you. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. You make the environment. Your environment's only as good as you create around you.
This is a horrible job, by the way, of paraphrasing.
It's
just
horrible.
So you know. Yeah, it's horrible.
And he said, look, there's people right now who are new in this country and they're miserable for X, Y, Z reasons. There's people who are born here for the same reason. And there's going to be a lot of people who are, living the best life they possibly can because they're able to look at their situation as the half glass full type of mindset. And so for anybody right now, in my mind, and I've said this many times before, who's complaining about living in Canada, like, unfortunately, the complaints on Twitter aren't going to change anything around you. So you need to find a way to build an environment around yourself in order for you to be happy. It might mean leaving the country. Good for you. Cool.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
But if you bring the same mindset with you from Canada to that other country, I promise the next country is going to suck the same way.
Yeah, you're coming with it. But hold
because
on a second. That's not totally true. There's lots of people that shed the Toronto big city dream and go to um wherever the fuck, and they pay, 500 bucks a month for rent, and they go pay $2 for eggs and bacon and pancakes, and
yeah. Did you
they're
see that
living
on
a
a social media account? And what kind of course were
yeah,
they
and
selling?
that guy doesn't make
What kind
any
of course?
money by teaching you how to do the
What?
same thing.
Yeah, what
But
kind of course were they selling, Daryl? Come on.
no, but the truth is, if you know anything, I mean, like if you go to other countries, it is very different and the cost of living is very
Give me an
different. And
example of somebody you know who left Toronto, who moved to another
Vitaly,
country, and he's sitting
Vitaly.
there going, "Man, life is so good here right now, and I got all of my ducks in order in my life." Go
Oh,
ahead now.
well, okay. Well, come on. That's not fair. But listen, the guy
Yeah.
has a business here in Toronto still. He has
Yes.
property here in Toronto still. He has property
Been
over
gone
there
for a
in
couple years.
Mexico. He's been gone since they announced that they were going to shut down air travel during the big pandemic.
Yeah.
And so he is actually one of the stories that saw the grass is greener on the other side. Now, is he still Vitaly in Mexico? Of course he is, right?
Yeah.
But life is different and life is slower, and maybe it's not easier because you're still you, but like it's like saying that money doesn't bring happiness. It's a bunch of bullshit, right? People that don't have money are the only people that think it doesn't bring happiness, right? TK, very important for everybody out there to subscribe to this channel, because we are the fastest growing #1 podcast in all of Canadian history.
On
And
Sundays at 10.
10 now,
We're the only one at 10. But
probably.
also check out Apple Podcasts and the other podcast platforms like Spotify and maybe Google Podcasts. I'm not really sure. There's podcasts everywhere, but go into those ones, look up Canadian Real Estate Show, and give us a review. We're trying to
Yeah.
spread the word, guys. Come on. We need your help.
Help a brother out. And on top of it, if you really want to be cool, then come check out our Instagram, because that's the coolest thing on earth right now. Having money allows you more opportunities for said happiness. Now, is that
Daryl,
shallow? Is
my
that below?
spiritual Uber driver told me, all
Yeah.
right, that
Well,
money
okay.
does not bring happiness.
Well,
You
and
got
he's
to be happy
probably
within
right.
yourself. Success is not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. If you believe that money brings you happiness, there will never be enough money in the world to make you happy. You
I'm
will
not
always
saying
want
it's the
more,
only thing that
but
brings
you'll
you
always want more.
happiness.
But no, money is not what makes you happy. I'm telling you.
Money is what makes
You need to want
most
what you already
people.
have. Yes, it's a tool to be
No.
able to experience the life that you see
That
best for
Uber
yourself and your
driver
family.
doesn't want what he currently has. And he's not sitting there going, I'm so grateful that I'm an Uber driver. Like he has an aspiration. He's trying to
He's
get
telling me he's
somewhere, right?
happy.
He's
And
also 30 and a student from out of town. Like, good fucking luck to you in this
but he's not
environment.
married, and his parents, when he goes back to India, are
Oh,
going to force him to get married. So he's
that's
living the
even
good life
worse
right
now.
now. He's living the single life.
Well, so hold on a sec. So,
That's what he
okay.
told me.
So, not being married brings me to this new OSFI rules situation, because you want to talk about that? You know what's going on with the new OSFI rules, and they're not allowing people to mortgage more than 4.5 times their income.
Yeah.
Did you hear
Okay.
about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so OSFI comes out and they say we're going to limit people to only
Yeah.
4.5 times income, right? Because that's the responsible thing to do. And so what happens is, I think it affects single people that only have one income. It really limits their opportunities for buying things if they can only get a mortgage based on their income, right? So I mean, what else should it be based on? I mean, as a
But like if you've been following the interest rates and the qualifying rate, like we're not really too far away from that. I think what they're doing is they're setting the stage for in the future when rates are lower to not be based on a stress test
yeah,
because they figured, okay, well now refinancing and all this stuff comes with issues,
that didn't
but
work.
a X factor on your income would be more manageable, right? So anyways, keep going.
But you're stuck. Okay, so somebody that's a single income earner that wants to go live on their own and buy a place, like they're limited to 4.5 times their income. So let's just say you have what TK thinks is an average salary of what, 60 grand a year. TK, is that what the average guy makes right now? No,
And
you
by
thought it was
by the way, the by
150,000.
the way,
It is 60.
it's not limiting at 4.5 times. I'm sorry, I have to pull this up here. Make sure we're fact checking you, Daryl.
It's not.
It's a cap on the number of mortgages a bank can lend that are larger than 4.5 times.
Yes, this
Yes.
is true.
Yeah. So
A
which does
cap on.
make
A
sense.
cap on, which
A
makes
cap on
sense
how many
because
mortgages you get. This is the next question that we should ask, though, is how many houses should one individual really own?
that's a great question. And I've
Right?
answered it before. And I said, and most people think I'm an idiot for
Yeah.
saying this and other things, of course, but normal people shouldn't own multiple houses. Okay. You should have
They're horrible landlords.
a
Yeah.
license to own multiple houses
Oh,
and
I like
run
that.
it as a business. And
Yeah.
actually, I don't even think, unless it's a like a subdivision all built to be rentals by one person who will run it as a business, fine, houses can be rented. But and I know that that's segregation and all kinds of people are going to have a problem with that. But the thing is the problem in the rental market is most of the landlords that are professionals and like businesses are not having the same problems with their tenants as people that, own 3 houses and don't really know what they're doing and don't
Or
manage
just
them
bought it.
properly.
Go online right now and type in triplex on your House Sigma or anywhere you are in Canada right now. There are so many people selling properties right now that are multi-family. Maybe they're 2, 3, 4 residential properties. Maybe some of the larger ones, although most likely those guys were bought by professional investors. So those guys seem to be okay. But because commercial rates too, were a lot of them are fixed. And so there's more stability there, long-term rates. But a lot of these guys are like, oh, I'm going to go and buy a triplex. I saw it on social media and I'm going to have my tenant pay down the mortgage and this is going to be great. And
I'm going to own 3 doors.
your tenants are calling you because, yeah, maybe you were able to get market rent. So now, you know what kind of problems market rent tenants give you? The worst tenant you can have is a Canadian born market rent tenant.
Who
Okay.
knows the rules
Who
of the
knows the
landlord
rules?
tenant board, right?
This
From
guy
TikTok.
will run you ragged.
Oh,
He
yeah.
will say, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Listen, those guys were here to shovel the snow at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I want my driveway cleared in the morning so I can get out, but I don't want to hear them shoveling outside the window of my basement."
Can they use regular plastic shovels and do it by
Seriously, they
hand,
got the
please?
blade on the bottom of the metal shovel. Like, this is scraping the ground. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting woken up an hour early. I've got night shift.
Yeah. And I hear this tripping in the middle of the night all the time. And it might be because I don't completely turn off the tap
Yeah.
100%, but I think you should send a plumber
The
because
furnace fan is way too loud. You need to get that checked out. Like when that thing turns on, I feel like it's a 747 engine or something that's about to blast through the wall.
it's not
You
high
know,
efficiency.
we need to work this
It's
out.
not high efficiency
So this is
enough.
what people don't understand. So they're putting on their properties that are triplexes and fourplexes right now, like en masse. I'm telling you, I'm watching every week. I'm following that market. I'm just like, whoa, here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And there's a ton of people now who are just saying to themselves, what did I get myself into? Right now, variable rate holders, maybe renewals, those type of things, they're in for a big surprise as far as the financial side goes. But it's also on the tenancy side, right? There's a lot of issues out there right now in the tenancy. I have the fortune, good
This is
fortune.
on top of like not having numbers that work, like just shitty
exactly. So you're
tenants on
losing
top,
$1,000
right?
a month or more, depending on the situation. You'd be losing $5,000 a month, like the one I just sold in Mississauga. But
Oh,
you also have these headaches that you weren't expecting. So I'm on the train, right? I'm talking to somebody. I'm giving them advice on they have a shared. They rent out a room in their house, so they share the kitchen with somebody. And they said, this person's causing problems. I said, well, the landlord tenant board doesn't apply. There's no Residential Tenancies Act. There's a shared kitchen. Here's how to handle it. And this lady kind of like jumped in. And at first I was like, yo, like mind your business here. Like, come on, we're having a private conversation on a train packed full of people. Like, come on, And so then my friend got off the train and I had to go 2 more stops. And I was like, I just turned over to her. I said, are you a paralegal? Right. And she's like, yeah, I am. And she works for TCHC, Toronto Community Housing Corporation. So like
they're
the
fun to deal
worst,
with. Yeah.
the worst job to be a paralegal for. Like you're dealing
Scummiest
with people who are
paralegal.
just like, no, like she's obviously got to be a little bit compassionate because you're dealing with a lot of mental health problems there. You're not dealing with people who know the laws. You're talking with people who are like, down on their
Shitting on
luck
the
and have
walls.
got, mental health issues and all that stuff. She's telling me about
Yeah.
years of courts
Lots
proceedings.
of
Like she'll
cats.
go to years where they're calling in witnesses, cats, all these type of things. So I got a good
Cats
conversation
everywhere.
with her to talk to her. But she did tell me one thing that's evident to her, and I trust her because she's obviously like in the know, is
Hmm.
that they have hired more adjudicators and that there is more
Oh,
people and more
great.
staff who are able to do the work. That
There's a
being
fucking
said,
lineup of
they're all
50,000
new.
on cases.
She says it's getting better and that it's shortening. So it's not something that I know what
Mm-mm.
Foch posted the other day about a lineup. That was actually old data.
Old
If you look in
data.
the bottom, it said it was like 2023. So you got to look at, well, what are we
Huh.
doing now in the first 3 months? We don't have that data yet.
You
But it
think
was
it
a
got better?
good clickbait for his content. Now,
Sure. Who
she
does
said that there
that?
are more people, but the issue is now these adjudicators are inexperienced.
Oh my God. This is like
So
planning.
you've
Yeah.
got,
Everything is inexperienced because all the
so you've got
experienced people got.
the staff has come in, but they did what they say they're going to do. But now it's just like the people don't know how to handle the caseload because it's a stressful caseload. So bottom
Yeah.
line is when you got a tenant issue, you're
Is that
screwed.
what we're talking about? Yeah.
You're screwed.
And this is the thing. So
Yeah.
if you start off with a pro forma that over time and appreciation when you buy it over the long haul makes money in year 12 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you're losing money every month until that golden special day.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, like you put in a 2% vacancy, right? As just like
Sure.
the default
Listen,
or whatever the
it's
hell
been
you
rented
put.
every month that I ever owned it. I mean,
This is the best market in
2%
the
is just
world.
being conservative.
No one has a line for having a tenant and
Yeah.
them not paying
Yeah.
for a year
Yeah.
or a
Well,
year and
that's
a
what
half.
vacancy should be, but it's not ever 2% because a year is
That's
100%.
150% you have to put
So
into the thing. So, like, who's going to sell that unit to
yeah,
somebody? So
vacancy
that line doesn't
100%.
get down there.
Yeah.
But now some investors are smart enough to go, holy shit. Like, why am I doing this in Ontario? I have a property management company in place that's managing the thing. I
Yeah.
have a realtor that brings me the deals. I have the financing in place. Why am I doing this in this place that's so unfriendly to investors, right? But then you also
Because they
see
like
that like
they get the
BlackRock is
yeah.
coming in and they're just going to buy everything,
They
right?
like
And
the
they're
appreciation. So that's the other factor, right? Is they're not all about cash flow. So that's the one I think caveat here is they're
is that a
expecting
real investor?
no, but that's what they're banking
That's what
on.
I'm saying.
And
Yeah.
then the next part is they want to touch it and feel it. They want to be able to, drive by it and stuff like that too, which is a hurdle. Once you
No
get
one
over
wants
that
to do
hurdle
that.
and you don't need and you don't care and you can be an out of town investor, look at Art Dadson from New Brunswick. Like literally has a huge business, like
Yeah.
top like New Brunswick realtor. All of his customers and clients are from Ontario mostly,
Right.
and they don't even see the properties. And he takes care of everything. He's just like a turnkey
He's a
investment.
dime a dozen though.
And that
Like,
guy, but
yeah.
that guy is like, no, that guy is doing something like big.
Yeah, he's a dime a dozen. Like there's no one else like him, right? He
I
stands
thought
out of the
dime a
pack.
dozen meant that dime a dozen meant like everybody's like him. Isn't that the opposite meaning of what you're trying to say?
I don't think so.
You don't
But
think so?
maybe I'm wrong. Well,
So what you're
anyways,
trying to
the
say is that
guy's really fucking
he's
good at what
unique.
he
He's a
does,
needle in a
right?
haystack.
He's a needle
Is
in
that
a
is
haystack.
that a good expression? Our
I don't,
analogies suck today.
well, that one was better. But I
Yeah.
mean, if I was right, it was good. If I was
Yeah.
wrong, it was horrible. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking I was right, but
Dime a
I
dozen.
always think I'm right. And then
Yeah,
I'm
like
a
10 out of
racist.
12, a dime a
So
dozen. Don't be a
here we go.
racist.
So hold on a sec. Did we talk about the OSFI thing and its impact, or did we just get right on over to what you wanted to talk about? Are you good with that?
As usual,
As
we went over what
usual.
I
All right. I
wanted to
got a
talk about.
list of shit here. What
All
about the
right, all right,
carbon
all right,
tax?
all right.
How are you feeling about that? Because it seems to be a big topic everywhere. Carbon tax, carbon tax, carbon tax. Yeah, everybody's got their bills. Nobody's fooled by the transparency, which may not have been the best idea in the world. I think I'd rather just have a bill with a number on it, even if the line item is we're fucking you hard, $184. Okay, thank you. But now I see, right? Now I
Yeah.
see that the charge for what I want or need to live, okay? TK, this is not even something I want. I don't give a shit if I have natural gas in my house or if I'm burning wood or if I'm riding a bike that would be the smartest thing is to hook up a bike to the goddamn generator for a house and work off some of this fat. But anyways, okay, what am I talking about? What am I talking about?
Not sure. But the
I
carbon
don't know what the
tax,
hell. The
what you're
carbon
trying to talk
tax,
about is the
and
cost that everybody has to pay. I mean,
it's crazy. And on top of that, they're raising it already. Like, didn't this thing just come in and everybody's freaking out about it, and now they're raising it in like a week?
yeah.
What
So
what
I
the
think, I think the carbon tax issue is something that is a big political thing, and I think that that's going to be what decides the government for next year. I think that right
why
now, go ahead.
you think Trudeau's gonna like say, okay, forget it, like vote for me now?
I'm not sure, but I'm
Hmm.
just saying that those type of things become political tools, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole thing, like when they're disguising climate change, they're saying, "Oh, we're going to reduce so many emissions by 2030 and all that stuff." Like, I don't know who really believes that they're giving us the right information and that it is actually going to be creating a better environment. I mean, do I want to save the environment? Of course, but I also want to make sure that what we're doing is actually saving the environment, because when you take money and you don't actually reduce any of the emissions, you haven't saved the environment, but you've also just taken money from everybody. So it's kind of
I
like,
think
hey guys,
that's what's
if you give
happening.
me if
Yeah.
you give me all that money, then I'll make sure that the gas emissions don't hurt the environment. But if everyone just still uses the same amount of emissions, and then we just still have to pay the money, I
Yeah.
don't see how this is going to benefit. But one
It's
thing that's
supposed to
for
be a
sure
deterrent, right?
is the carbon tax credits, carbon credits.
Yeah.
And those are again another big bunch of BS, because right now in the
Yeah.
world there are no carbon credits. All the big corporations bought them all up, because in order to get carbon credits, you have to have like a forest and whatever to be able to actually sell and
Or
say, look,
produce
those trees
EVs.
that we built for you are because you are polluting the earth. And so the carbon credits are all sold out. There's none left right now. I have a client who sells them. But what they're doing is they're selling the future rights to carbon credits.
Futures
So they're
market.
saying, look,
Oh,
we haven't really
derivatives
discussed
next.
the land acquisition yet from the
What the
farmers in
fuck?
Cambodia. But if you pay me $10 million, Walmart, all
Yeah.
right,
I'll
what I'm
give you
going
the
to do
rights.
is when I do get that contract, all
Yeah.
right,
It's
and
yours.
those carbon credits, which today would be like 50 million, okay, I'm going to sell it to you for 20. All right. If I
Mm,
get it, if I don't, then I'll give you back, half of your money.
right.
And then in 10
Fees.
years, hopefully I've got enough trees to build where those carbon credits will be yours. And you'll need them because this program is still going to exist. And Walmart's
Hmm.
like, geez, guys, what do we do if we don't buy these carbon credits? The last time we didn't buy those carbon credits, we regretted it. We had to pay 3 times what these guys are offering. If we get them for 20 million,
Hmm.
this is going to be a great deal. And imagine in 10 years, it could be 100 billion. What do we do? And these big corporations have the money. So
This is
they drop down
horrible.
the money and they buy future carbon credits. So it's a
Future
real
carbon
big
credits.
scam.
But hold on, isn't there supposed to
Uh,
be a rebate too? Like I get when I say something online about this, everybody goes, "You're an idiot. You're gonna get more back in rebates." And I'm like,
well, that's what Trudeau's been saying.
"But why the fuck are you taking my money and then giving it back to me? Like, just let me keep it. Fuck off. What are you doing?
So
Tell me what's the point of
the
that?
Canada Carbon Rebate returns fuel charge proceeds to Canadians through direct deposit or check every 3 months,
What does
ensuring
that mean?
most households get more money back, with lower income households benefiting the most.
The fuck does that even mean?
It
How
means that
much
you're
money am
getting
I
the
getting, TK?
Canada Carbon
For doing
Rebate.
what? So for doing what? For freezing to death in the winter, I get a rebate because I saved. I reduced my bill. Why do I get a rebate? And how
So
much is the rebate?
so what happens is $745 for a family of 4 in Ontario, works out to $373 for a single adult. Each child is
How
entitled to 93 bucks. So yeah,
for a
you're getting
year? For a
no
year?
per year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a year. Okay. So I'm spending right now, like between all the additional taxes and all these bullshit charges and distribution and delivery charges and everything, it's like, fuck that. I'm gonna go reconnect my fireplace and disconnect the gas and disconnect the furnace and go get an electric furnace or something like that. I'll go burn coal in the backyard.
I was at a
Like,
house
this is so
yesterday that had
stupid.
a wood burning fireplace in the garage. I thought that was really cool.
It's really cool. It's even cooler when you got one of those wood burning ovens in the backyard. Just, have people
Make a
over
pizza.
and make a pizza,
Yeah.
right? But then again, in Canada now, you get taxed for having a pizza oven that's wood burning. Remember we talked about that a few months ago?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah, that's like some other new thing. So it's like you can't have a wood burning
Oh,
oven
that's part of the
to
carbon
heat the
tax.
place. I guess. I don't know. It gives off
Yeah.
too much carbon when you burn wood. So what are we supposed to do?
I
What
think
are we
that it's
supposed to
been
just rub
very
our hands together and
I
like
think
make
it's
heat?
very obvious that they've looked into this, they've got all the data to support it, that we can't survive. The energy demands that we have cannot survive without, coal and other, carbon creating uh, uh, fuel resources. Like there is no way for us to be able to have the amount of power and energy, and especially since we're only getting more and more technology and developing more and more places,
Yeah.
right? It's like this is what it is. Like we got to just accept it. I'm not saying burn the place down, but like we got to just be able to say to ourselves, like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is just the outcome of the earth, and that is that we need to just be able to use the energy that we need to. I love nuclear energy. To me, that makes the most amount of sense, and that people are scared of nuclear. Nobody wants it in their backyard. But at the end of the day, like it seems like that's going to be what the future is. In my mind, we should all just have a little mini nuclear reactor at home. That's going to be how we get through our day, because that's what else is going to be something that's going to be able to be that sustainable. But maybe I don't understand nuclear science enough, but to me that's what would make the most amount of sense, or at
I
least
think
have
there's safer ones to have in your house that are like basically free energy that is like not going to explode and kill everybody within a certain radius.
yeah,
But
that one. If
I
I had
get the
I've had
point,
a
right?
choice between the one that explodes and kills everyone and the other one that's safer, I'm gonna
Right.
pick the safer one.
And this is why you should be running for office because you make
100%.
sense
I'm
with your
100%.
decisions,
I'm
right? Like
100%
I think we could
involved in politics.
really get you backed for
Yeah,
office
I
next
think so
time
too.
around.
I think so too.
Like, I
Guys,
think we
bring
could even
nuclear
get you on the
reactors to a
ballot
home near
now,
you.
right?
Yeah.
We are going to run on the platform that
At least I'm willing to speak freely.
everybody
Yeah,
gets
yeah, yeah.
for now. Wait until Bill, whatever the hell, comes into place and you say something like that and they go, oh, this guy's onto something. We better fucking kill this right now. Let's get rid
Yeah,
of these guys. Okay, TK,
yeah,
other big news this week. Since you're the one in the country and I'm on vacation, this is what I heard is
yeah.
going on over there.
Talk to me.
Um, the immigration is like considerably down with, I guess, students from India and um, NPRs, I think non-permanent
Non-permanent
resident. Is that
residents.
what that means?
Yeah.
So NPRs, like their targets are down, and plus all of them are going, we don't even want to fucking go there anymore because it really sucks, right? And we're getting completely taken advantage of over there. And fuck this, right? We're out. We're going somewhere else, like Dubai, because it's way better for people over there, right? But people are realizing that this isn't the best place to come. And so people online are saying, this is major news. Like, this is a major news story because you don't understand what a difference this is going to make, right? Are you reading the
Well,
article now?
yeah. So I want to know the numbers. So what they're saying is they're reducing it from 6.2 down to 5%, which is the share of temporary residents of the population. But they don't actually give the number. And so what it means is, maybe they still bring in the exact same amount of temporary residents, right? And that they just create more opportunities for permanent residency, right? So at the end of the
I don't
day,
know
they
what
want
they're going to
people,
do.
because what it is the issues that they've got people who come here and then leave. And I'm like, well, what the heck, man? We gave you a chance to come here, and then you worked, you drove Uber for 3 years, and then you left. What did you do for us? They want
Mhm.
people to start a life, to build a business, to start a family. They want that type of stimulation.
But you need to make it so people want to stay and build a family here. You can't make it so that they have to drive Uber the whole time, right? In their spare time after studying and going to school. You got all these guys right now that are complaining that they're being failed in their courses. And they're like, I paid 60 grand for this thing. You can't fail me. And the school's like, well, I mean, you fail.
You didn't show
And
up. You were driving Uber all day long.
well, I
Why
mean,
did you even sign up for this course at John Rhythm's Academy for those inclined to
for
use their hands?
drummers, right? But this is the thing, and you see videos on all the social media platforms of people saying like, "Come here, and we'll give you a loan, and we'll do this for you, and we'll bring you in, and we'll give you a fee, and you'll make money by coming here, and we'll give you a job, and everything will be beautiful. You'll have a
Sounds like a
bed."
realtor,
Well, it probably is a real or
right?
was
That
a
guy's got a real.
realtor at
He's got a
some
real
point.
real estate license too,
He's connected with a realtor for sure,
for sure.
somewhere on the
Referrals.
chain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mortgage broker, realtor. But this is what's happening, and so people think that they're coming to something good, and then they get here and they're like, I can't do this. This doesn't work. This isn't what I was promised. And I don't know what happens next because they're here. Like how they can't possibly have money to go back. The plan was to build a real estate empire.
But this is the thing that people don't understand. I mean, I was talking to somebody from Iran, and he was telling me about the revolution back in 1979 and how, only the richest people left, and that the richest people had properties all over the world. And then in the
Engineers,
80s,
they're
if you
all
had
in
money,
Toronto.
then, you're able to leave a little bit earlier. And as time went on, more and more people were leaving and stuff like that too. So I know that a lot of the people that we're seeing come here were like, oh man, they're very like, down on their luck or whatever like that. But the ones that I talk to, at least, and got my sample pool of people is completely distorted. So everybody knows that. But
Yeah.
these aren't the poorest of the
Billionaires.
poor people coming from the countries that they're coming from. They own land, their family owns properties, they have, long, standing connections through different types of, maybe politics or government sort of agencies, maybe a business, that kind of stuff.
Maybe a
So the people,
cartel.
whatever it is, but the people
Yeah,
have those type of connections. So when you say like, whoa, they can't just go back, like a lot of them can.
they can.
A lot of them have an option to go back. They choose to be here. They want to be here, and that they've got maybe skill sets, education, whatever it is that they're going to try to use and to prosper from here because the opportunities there aren't as good.
That's not who's coming in
Yeah.
now.
How do
They're
you know?
not. It's not the engineers.
What do you mean it's not the engineers? The only people I'm talking to are the engineers.
That have come in recently?
Yeah, the people who are coming in recently are the ones who have got a lot of under the federal skilled workers programs. They've got a lot of education. You're
I don't
talking about
think
the
yours
student
is
visa people.
well,
You're
that's
not
some
talking
of
about permanent
them.
residents. You're talking about people who are temporary residences
Refugees,
who are coming under student
students.
visas and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously
I
those
think there's
people
more of
aren't
them. Yeah.
engineers yet. There's
No,
a ton of them. There's a ton of them.
like way more than
Well, they're going to
the
reduce
pool
the
you're swimming in.
share from 6.2 down to 5%.
Well, and so what matters is like where do they live and where are they going to live?
Yeah.
Even if we chop it by the amounts that people are worried about, if they actually chop it, does that change the strain? Because if you bring in 500,000 less people, we've said it before, you're still bringing in over 500,000 people, right?
So I'm selling a property right now. So I sold it conditional this week, and in this house is a 3-bedroom bungalow, so a 3-bedroom apartment, in the basement a 2-bedroom apartment with another bachelor apartment. In total, you have 1, 2, 3,
17 units.
7 people living in that house.
Wow.
India and Iran. Yeah.
What?
So
in
Indian,
India and in
yeah,
Iran?
Indian tenants and Iranian.
Oh, I
So it
see. I
means that
see.
you have
Here.
7, living in this
Yeah.
house. You got 7 people living in that one house, where
That's great.
maybe, a Canadian family might be 4.
Yeah.
All right. So they got a place to live.
Or 2.
They're renting a room, they're happy. Or yeah, exactly. If they're boomers,
7, okay,
they got
is
3 of
like
those and they're only using one of them.
7 might be comfortable still if you're
Okay.
using the basement and you have a
I
decent
know there's
amount of
more,
space.
but I'm just giving you my own examples.
No, but when it's like 20,
Okay, that's rare.
15,
I'm telling you right now that 7 people in one house is out there all over the place to be able
it's
to
gotta be.
accommodate what it is. I was
Gotta
talking
be.
to someone yesterday. I've mentioned this before. Last night somebody was mentioning how when they came to Canada, and they lived with their aunt, and their aunt had 4 children, and they with their 4, like they had 3 brothers and sisters as well, and their parents all moved into the same house. This is what immigrants do. And that was like in the 60s. This is what immigrants do.
They do it. And what
Yeah.
happens is they come here and they do it and they displace the people that are unwilling to do it. Right.
Okay,
They displace the locals.
We're all like caught up in this whole, like, this is some new era of immigration.
No, it's the same shit.
It's the same thing. My dad
Same shit.
had there was 8 boys. They had their parents, they had the grandma, they had they rented out the living room to another family, and the basement was unfinished in a 3-bedroom bungalow.
Right. Hold on.
Okay.
But there's a big difference. Hold on.
What?
This is very important. And I've mentioned it every time we have the same fucking discussion. Back then, in 3 years, you saved enough for a 50% down payment on the house. Okay. 3 years. If you didn't even work hard, it was 3 years. If you were a fucking baller and you were working your balls off, maybe in a year you could come up with
Let's do some math.
50% down payment.
Let's do some math. 50% down payment. Okay, maybe that's true. Maybe it's
25
not true.
grand.
Whatever
Yeah.
it is. Right now, you need a 20% down payment for the average home, which is $200,000.
Is this insured? You got to have the insured shit.
No, 20% down.
Over leverage.
20%.
That's over leverage.
You can do 5% down insured, but 20% is conventional.
Oh, that's conventional.
And I'm going to use $1 million.
down?
I'm going to use $1 million because that's the average home. But even though you wouldn't buy that home, you'd buy a
You
600,000.
can't. Your
I
income
made an
allow
offer
it.
this morning for a $600,000 2-bedroom stacked townhouse on a property, and it's a great house for someone to live in. But we won't even use that one.
Lovely. Yeah, that's great.
That makes it too easy. We'll do $1 million. So you need to save 200.
I like having the word stacked in my housing.
Okay. You need to think about this. So now, if you live in a home with your family, you have no expenses.
Stacked home.
You have no expenses. You and your brothers and sisters are all living in a home with your family. You know, you got a good job. You're able to, save some money. You don't have to pay any of your bills. Your mom's cooking you food all day long. You take the bus.
Yeah.
Right.
How much do you make?
Well,
where do you work?
Okay. Again, so you don't make 100 grand like all the people I know. Let's say you make 70,000.
What? Like living with your parents, just starting out, you're making 70 grand right off the bat? Okay. Yeah. 70 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now, and let's say that.
What are you doing for the 70 grand?
You're an IT guy.
IT
you're good at
guy, fresh out of, Okay. So that's the common man.
Now you're able to save $25,000 a year.
1 year. 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. So now you got 4 brothers and sisters.
Oh, I would love to live with my brothers and sisters forever.
Okay. Well, that's what my dads did.
Yeah.
My dad and his brothers did.
Both of them?
So each one of you can save $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
Now, after 2 years, you got $200,000. You guys can go buy a house, 20% down. You're going to use your incomes, all 4 of them. It won't be more than 4.5 times, even though that's not a thing. It's just basic on the qualifying rate. You can now go and buy $1 million home.
One of the partners is not like, none of the partners have alcohol issues or mental issues or anything that I have to worry about down the road. Wives
money
that are
saving,
bitches, husbands
the wives are coming with them. Okay, they could buy $1 million house in
husbands with gambling
Whitby.
problems.
That's going to be more than enough space for everybody.
This is
there you go.
lining up to be great. Yeah,
Canadian dream. Okay,
this is the problem.
All I'm trying to say is that it's if you build. What is it? Come on, spiritual Uber driver. I need to channel my spiritual Uber driver. Hold on. You create. The environment around you is only as good as the one that you create for yourself. Maybe that's a little bit better.
Listen,
okay? That's what it is, Darryl. If you sit around all day going, oh, I can't afford a house. I'm never going to buy. I can't save money. The prices are too high. Why did my parents have a better opportunity than I did? Guess what? You're right. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. But if you're like,
this is the thing.
What is my opportunity here? What do I need to do to save money? How am I going to get into my first home? How am I going to make this work? What type of home can I afford? How am I going to save money? What do I need to cut back on my expenses? Guess what you're going to do, Darryl? You're going to buy a house. I guarantee it. I'm 100% sure.
Pool of resources.
In the market, not in the comments saying, I'm never going to buy and it's never going to work out for me and that I make $35,000 a year. Okay. If you make $35,000 a year, you're not buying in Toronto.
This is it. I put out a tweet today or a post on X or whatever the fuck it's called now. And I said, guys, wake up. Houses in Toronto, homes in Toronto are never going to be affordable ever. That's what other provinces are for, right?
Yes.
And other cities
and if you make 35 grand here, you can also make that money somewhere else.
That's right.
Get married or find a partner, depending on your preference. You can go and buy a home together in another province. Saskatchewan is great.
Or even in Ontario, in a place that has no water or electricity
or water and electricity in those places. Like Thunder Bay is not too bad.
No, and we keep coming back to this same thing, is that part of the problem is that people just want what they don't want to work hard enough for, and they want to sit on TikTok and Twitter and bitch all day and actually not do the work. And although I complain and I spend lots of time on social media, what people may not realize is that I actually get a ton of shit done in a day because I'm like a vampire and I don't sleep at all, right?
You don't sleep.
I don't sleep, and I get a lot of
stuff done. Go to bed later than me
and
wake up earlier than me.
Well, most people, because it's not normal, and I'll probably have a heart attack soon, but that's a whole other story, right?
So I had a client who called me. This is a sad story.
Oh no, a good redirect. Yeah.
I'm wondering if I can say this story or not, but I guess I'm going to say it.
You're going to have to say something.
I know. I called a client.
This is not getting edited.
I called a client and they were, I I haven't talked to them for a while, right?
Mm.
I met them. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do. Things weren't lining up. So I was just calling in to check in and say, hey, how are you?
Client or
And
contact?
it's somebody who really will
Did
want
you
to
make
use
any
my
money from
services.
them?
No, it's somebody
Okay.
who, when the time comes, they're going to want to use my services because I was good to them when they needed me, but at that time it wasn't. They didn't need any of my services.
Loyal people
Okay. So I'm
exist
checking in
still.
with them to say, hey, how are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
And this person says to me, my spouse passed away. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yikes.
I said, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's sad. And send my condolences to the kids and all that kind of stuff. And they said, well, I found out 3 weeks after they passed away that the property taxes haven't been paid in 5 years.
Oh,
And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Like,
fuck.
that's also something that I'm, sending my condolences for you and hopefully you get it all stretched out. They said, well, then we also found
And
out why. It was because my spouse
oh,
was gambling online.
oh no, it's not Shohei Otani's what's it called?
No,
What's it called?
I don't know.
When you
But
translator. You don't know what's going on with that?
I don't
Jesus.
watch
Okay.
Shohei News. But the money was lost, and there was a medical condition that was related to stress, which ended the person's life. And it was because they had developed that type of addiction and
Little
they
bit of
couldn't handle it,
anxiety.
and
Yeah.
they lost like it was like $100,000 or something like that in total.
When are you gonna pay us back, Morty? Morty, where's the money, Morty? When are you
So
gonna pay us
these type of
back?
situations are like market conditions are irrelevant. People pass away. I just listed in a state sale this week. It goes on the market next week. Um, people are still out there. I met with another couple that's in a state sale. They're probably not going to get it on the market and for another few months. There's people who need to sell. They're going to sell. There's no
People buying because like I feel like the market's moving and people are telling me, what are you, an idiot? Like sales are down and prices are down on condos 20%. And
yeah.
I thought prices went up last month. Didn't the prices go
From
up? And
January to February they went up,
are,
but
are we still in a seller's market technically? Like, is that still a thing? Do we care about seller's market still or
everything
not?
that I'm pricing right and
Only when
doing
it's
what's
good?
necessary, I'm selling.
Right.
So if it's priced high, people are going to look at it and go, "You're crazy. I don't want it."
But where are we at versus peak? Are we close? Are we
No,
back?
no, no,
No,
no
way
way,
below.
no way.
Really? Because
No,
I look at like the average prices
peak is peak.
across the board.
Daryl, peak
Oh,
is.
peak, peak,
I
peak.
don't
Yeah.
think we're getting back to peak for 10 years.
Not back to peak for 10 years,
Yeah,
says TK. Okay.
yeah.
But
I think it's
are
going to
we
take
at
a
the
long time.
bottom?
Sorry, 10 years from peak. So I think 2032. It'll take a while. I think we're going to have some really slow growth. I still think that there's still pain in the market. I still see a lot of people. I'm dealing with them. So I'm like, you need to sell. You're not going to wait for a better price. You're in trouble here.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these type of situations are happening more and more. And so those type of people will sell and they'll have to get whatever price they can. Buyers, let's talk about interest rates. Everybody's saying right now, interest rates are going down and the market's going to get better. Let's just understand how that works. The Bank of Canada's overnight rate gets decreased 3 times this year by 25 basis points. Fantastic. Prime rate comes down. Everyone says, oh, hoorah. My variable rate mortgage now gets affected from with Scotia. My payment changes. If not, my interest proportion changes. Super. But the bond market is still in control of where fixed rates are going to be. And the bond market has been already.
Bond market gets so much
The
credit.
bond market's already been saying we expect there to
Geniuses.
be interest rate decreases, rate cuts. So it means that we're already at where the bond market thinks rates should be, which is whatever it is, 5.5%, whatever you can get, right? So the qualifying rate is going to be 2% above that, which means that's what buyers' affordability is. That's what they can qualify with. And therefore, nothing changes. There is no three rate cuts this year. Doesn't change buyers' affordability. It might put some optimism in the market, but when they go to the bank to say, excuse me, I'd like to know 3 cups of optimism. How much more money are you going to give me? Because I really feel like this is a good investment and that I really feel like the price is going to go up. So, can you raise my, debt service ratios up a little bit? And the bank's going to say, 3. All right. So you make 60 grand a year and you got a car payment and he's got 3 cups of optimism and they're not going to give you any credit for that optimism, which means that you don't qualify for any more than you did 3-6 months ago or today. So how are buyers going to pay more money for houses? They can't qualify for the houses they're trying to buy right now. And if more sellers are selling because they need to sell, how does this equate to prices going up later this year?
I think what we've learned, and I could be wrong, sentiment is more important than interest rates and where they're at. Now, the direction of interest rates has a big impact on sentiment. And if you are around real estate as much as we are, you know that there's a lot of money waiting for something, right? And I don't know if we're at the bottom and they're trying to time a bottom. We do see things transacting, like not a lot, but things are still transacting. When you have 8 months of pauses and then 3 cuts in a row, what is the sentiment going to be like? And
Yeehaw! Let's go.
I,
Let's get back in. I'm going to go to the bank, and then the bank's going to tell me, and then I'm going to go and buy an investment
but
property,
these are
and the
people.
numbers on my monthly pro forma is going to show me. Telling you, Darryl, that craze was there. It was a perfect storm of stupidity, and that people were doing things with
I
money
hope
that
you're
they should
right.
have never done before. And then no, you don't hope I'm right, because it's
I
going to
hope
affect
you're
your
right.
projects. But
Well, I
what,
know that, but I don't think it will affect my projects. But
but
I think I think it will. Like, I can't see a scenario where all these people don't go crazy again. And I hope I'm wrong, right? Because it's not healthy that that happens,
yeah.
right? Um, I think really that a cut will start a frenzy with the dummies again, right? Because even if the smart money is still
The
waiting
dummies can't
around,
get money, Daryl. The dummies had access to money that
some
they didn't
dummies
know
get
about.
money, man.
No, I'm telling, the
I've
scenarios are
seen
just
these guys. They
they're
fucking go
it's
bankrupt, and all of a
crazy.
sudden they're raising money again, and they found a new group of suckers, and they keep going. And if they hit the right wave, those guys look like geniuses for a while
Mm,
until things crumble apart, and even geniuses can look like idiots, right?
mm.
But I look, I could be totally friggin' wrong. I also see a scenario where we have like this slow decline in prices, like a steady kind of tail off for years. And then look,
And then it'll come back again. Then
at some
we'll be all
point, it's
hyped
going
up
to come
again.
back.
Yeah.
And so what's the trigger that makes it actually come back again? Because if inflation is seemingly coming down, or at least people are believing that it is, right? The
Mm-hmm.
people that actually don't pay attention, which is most people, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
2.8%. There you
really?
go.
The chicken
It's down.
is $35 a piece, and in
It
inflation
went
is
down.
down. This is
Inflation's
great.
down.
I'll vote for Trudeau, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see both scenarios. I just feel from all of the craziness I've seen in Toronto in the past, okay, over my experience, and they'll add to it that it's not the old money recycling now. It's got all this new money is coming in, right? That's willing to pool 7, 8 people together to do stuff, right? I, I don't see a scenario where there isn't more demand than the supply, and the supply is never catching up no matter how slow it gets. I just don't see a scenario. But I mean, you can make a lot of money in like slow down for 5 years too. And so can investors that are using performas and their brains, where they've given themselves these buffers of maybe somebody not paying for a while, right? Maybe not a year or a year and a half, but 6 months might be like not stupid every couple of years or 3 years to plan. Like, this is not going to be occupied 98% all the time.
Yeah. No
Like,
realtor's
what's
ever gonna.
2% vacancy,
Yeah.
anyways?
And that screws up your performa big
But what
time.
is 2% or 4% vacant? Like, it's not
It's
even
the
a
rate.
month. What is it? 3 days you're going to be vacant for? Right? Like
Yeah.
8 days? Like,
Yeah.
what are people thinking?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is the problem: is the dummies have
Yeah.
money from somewhere,
Yeah.
and they pool it together, and they make big dummy plays. And sometimes they look like geniuses because the market went the right way, or they actually got a good deal,
Yeah.
or somebody in the group actually knew what the hell they were doing, and they made like more value there. They created value somehow.
Yeah.
That's what I foresee. But part of the picture that I see is all of these multiplexes and all these smaller guys coming online and wanting to do this, right? And the city pushing all of this small stuff. And a lot of those guys are going to get killed. They're not going to make any money, but they're going to generate stuff. And other people are going to get jobs from that stuff, I
Mhm.
think. But I'm an idiot. I made the worst possible call in 2007, 8, 9, right? I just feel like there's so many people with so much money just flooding in that don't care about what that 5% interest. Like, it's normal. It's lower
Mhm.
than the average over the last 40 years, that they just come in with these fresh eyes, go, I want that. I can get that. I have a good job at home, and or they have
They need a place to live. They need a place to live. And
everybody.
look, everybody's struggling on their expense side, but people have more income than ever before right now. The amount of people who are, you know,
And
their
yeah,
businesses are doing well. Sorry, the rich.
side gigs,
Let me
side
yeah,
gigs,
let me qualify this. The rich are getting richer.
richer,
The rich are getting richer, and
richer.
they have the money to be able to go around and buy whatever the heck they want. And that's the problem, is that it's becoming a tale of, you know, the classes, where the people who've got the money are going and doing the things they want to do and enjoying life and jacking up the prices for everyone else, whereas the people who are hardworking, blue collar, whatever, you know, didn't come from money, their family doesn't have money, whatever it is, they're struggling and they're saying, hey, that's not fair. I went to school with that guy, you know, we had the same, you know, we crossed paths, but because his parents and his job and whatever, he gets to go and live this great life, and it's impossible for me to do it, right?
Right, right.
And
And
that's unfortunate, and that's something that we want to change because we don't remember Canada being like that. But there are other places in Canada where you can still have that life. It's just, do you want to live in Toronto or not? Because Toronto, to live here, is not easy, and it's a major city. And if you look at major cities in other parts of the world, and I'm not trying to compare us with, yeah, every city's got their own unique, you know, features.
Toronto's
But
not a
as
world
far
class
but as
city,
far as
idiot.
the biggest city in every one of those countries, and all the major countries, each one of them has one big city. The
Yeah.
rules in those big cities are much different than they are in the small cities,
And it's harder to fricking
right?
afford a
And
place
they
there.
have
That's
crazy
just it.
rules in some places where, you need certain, you can't even buy in Shanghai without a permit. They're just
Right.
like, no, I don't care how much money you have. You don't need to own a home here. Other places they say you can't buy more than one home. Other countries they say, look, you can't buy, you can just buy one home. That's it. You're not allowed to buy any more.
Yeah. Or
Right?
you can't own anything here until you're a citizen.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's how you protect
Some
your
places
people.
we won't even let you buy unless you were born here.
Right.
We won't even
And
let a foreigner in to buy.
developers, as much as we want to make a ton of money, the market is realistic too. So if at the right time we would have put these policies in place that actually protect the local population from prices running out of control, they'd still be going up. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not as crazy as they did, but they'd still be going up. And if we actually plan things out properly and we built the infrastructure first and we planned, okay, you know what? We need to make sure that there's 100,000 new boxes somewhere because we're bringing in 150,000 humans and they need to go somewhere. Like, these are things that the prices can still go up. People can still make a lot of money. Everybody can be happy, and the prices don't have to go up 10% a year, right? Or 8% a month. Or we've seen some crazy runs, right? I think the system can work one day, but if we're waiting for like affordable housing to save us. Have you seen the videos of Krista Freeland going out to BC and the building that they're considering affordable? You get like a one bedroom with 600 square feet or 450 square feet or something stupid for 2,600 bucks, and it's considered affordable. Like, well done, everybody, right?
Here's our affordable housing.
But look, I'm dealing with it on my project where I have
Yeah.
rental replacement, and I have to replace it at uh they have some metric based on the average of the whole city, and it's a factor of more than the average for the replacement, which, I mean, I'm thankful for because it doesn't kill the performa as much as it could kill the performa if it was really affordable. So
Yeah.
who is
But
this
there is
shit
no such thing as
affordable
affordable.
to?
Yeah.
It's never going to be affordable here.
Yeah.
If you want, unless you can afford it, which means you have to either
Ooh.
be
Affordable is
rich
so
from
subjective.
somewhere, but that's
Yeah.
the thing. You have affordable means you can buy it and,
Yeah.
not go bankrupt because you did it,
Yeah.
right? Or not have your life be worse because you did it.
Yeah.
I think should be the metric of whether you can afford it,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes you can afford something and then a couple of years later you can't.
They
And
should
they
base
still let you try and
affordability
keep it.
on like a certain job. They should be like, all right, if your job is, you know, if you and your spouse both work minimum wage, right? Can you afford to rent a 3-bedroom apartment? Boom, that's your at 30% debt
Brilliant.
service
Minimum
ratio.
wage.
There's your rental apartment. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a I don't want to say teacher,
One
'cause they make
bedroom for one
they make a lot of
salary.
money. So let's say a
This is
give me a
getting too
generic job. Generic job.
generic job.
Yeah.
Warehouse worker.
Yeah.
Is that not generic?
It's not, I want a government one actually. It'd be
Oh, a
better.
government one. How about
Yeah.
city planner?
City planner. Okay. If you're a city planner, they probably
Yeah.
make like teachers money.
They probably make pretty good money.
This is a tough one. All right. If you are working
What about a
as a
garbage
mechanic,
collector?
if you collect garbage for the city, which is
Yes,
a great job,
yes.
they make good money. If you collect
Tons of
garbage
money.
for the city, right? Your wage times 2, because it means that you and your spouse, right? What type
Ferry
of
boat
home?
captain.
What type of home can you guys afford as far as a 3-bedroom home? That becomes now what the affordable rate is. So then that way the incomes are
For
tied to the
you.
affordability
For you.
for the metric that they use.
How about like you just go somewhere that you can afford? And I'm sorry, okay? I'm
Darryl.
sorry. We're going to need nurses that make more money here so they can afford to live here. And they'll be the best nurses, okay?
Maybe a man
Sorry.
nurse should just get married to a woman doctor, and then he can afford to live in the city.
Like, figure it out,
So
everybody.
simple.
Figure it out somehow.
So do
I
you know
don't
what?
know
Do you
how
know
this
what,
works,
Darryl?
TK. And this
You know
is
what?
why I'm not in charge.
And I can tell you one thing, that today during this episode, we did not figure anything out.
I don't think we're really trying anymore,
I don't think
TK.
we're
It
trying
really
anymore.
feels like we try and move backwards every week, every time
We
that
just
we
like to
have a
talk to each other.
conversation.
That's all it is. But
But
anyways, people are listening. We appreciate
people
you
are
guys.
watching.
The
Thank you.
show has come to an end. Let us know in the comments what you want to hear from us next. Let us know who you want to see on the show. We're going to
Ooh.
reply to every comment.
We
Drop
are
a
booked
drop a
up,
like,
TK.
drop a comment, and you know, we appreciate you guys. So
If you want to come on the
showing up
show
every week. Yeah, do you
Yeah.
want to come on the show? We can book you sometime in 2025.
sometime in July right now. We have so many great guests coming too. So anybody that's actually still watching, we have some real gems for you guys coming up.
Guest.
Really
Today
good
the
guests.
guest was me. I'll be the guest today.
TK was a
You were the
great
host.
guest today.
You were a great
Actually,
host
no, our guest forgot, and you know, some
Worked
things
out.
are more important than others.
Me and you got
Typical
some-
realtor move.
Me and you
Oh,
got- me and you-
oops,
me and you-
yesterday. Oh, I forgot.
Me and you got some good chemistry today.
That was so great, TK. I'm so glad that I wasn't out at the pool
Enjoy
and
the rest
enjoying
of
the sun.
vacation. Your vacation.
My vocation
Vacation.
is complete.
Okay. Bye.